Welcome to Module number 12, How does research affect individual rights? If you are having trouble accessing any of these modules, contact the Chief Privacy Officer at privacy@uvm.edu or call the Office of Compliance and Privacy Services at 802-656-3086. Otherwise, let's begin. As you already learned, the privacy rule provides individuals with certain rights about how their health information is used and disclosed. It also describes how individuals can gain access to health records and information about when their PHI was released without their permission. Furthermore, the privacy rule describes how covered entities can provide individuals with these rights while maintaining the integrity of research projects. For starters, covered entities must provide individuals with written notice of the entity's privacy practices and the individual's privacy rights. This is called a Notice of Privacy Practices, or NPP. In addition to the notice requirement, the rule permits individuals to gain access to request amendment of, request restrictions on, and request confidential communication of certain records related to their health care. Individuals are also given the right to request and receive a written accounting of disclosures of when and why their PHI was disclosed without their authorization, except under limited circumstances. Lastly, individuals have the right to file a complaint with the covered entity and with the Secretary of Health and Human Services if they believe a violation of the privacy rule has occurred. With few exceptions, the privacy rule also guarantees individuals access to their medical records and other types of health information to the extent the information is maintained by the covered entity or its business associate within a designated record set. Under the privacy rule, a designated record set is a group of records maintained by or for a covered entity that includes medical and billing records about individuals maintained by or for a covered healthcare provider, enrollment, payment, claims adjudication, and case or medical management record systems maintained by or for a health plan, or used in whole or in part by or for the covered entity to make decisions about individuals. A record is any item, collection, or grouping of information that includes PHI and is maintained, collected, used, or disseminated by or for a covered entity. Research records maintained by a covered entity may be part of a designated record set if, for example, the records are medically related or are used to make decisions about research participants. In most cases, patients or research subjects can have access to their health information in a designated record set at a convenient time and place. One exception, among others, is during a clinical trial when the individual's right of access can be suspended while the research is in progress. However, this is only allowed if, in consenting to participate in research including treatment, the individual agreed to the temporary denial of access. It is up to the covered entity to inform the individual that the right to access their health records in the designated record set will be suspended and that the access will be restored upon conclusion of the clinical trial. Covered entities are also required to provide individuals with a written record of certain disclosures of their PHI by covered entities or their business associates. This includes certain disclosures made by researchers who are covered under the privacy rule. This is referred to as an accounting of disclosures. It is important to understand the difference between a use and a disclosure of PHI. In general, the use of PHI means communicating that information within the covered entity, while a disclosure of PHI means communicating that information to a person or entity outside the covered entity. The privacy rule restricts both uses and disclosures of PHI, but it requires an accounting only for certain PHI disclosures. Dual appointees between UVM and UVM Medical Center may perform activities considered within the covered entity, while some may be considered outside the covered entity. This is why it is important to know what your role is and whether you are covered under the privacy rule. This training does not go into detail about what needs to be included in an accounting of disclosures. However, if you have questions about what to include, or if you are not certain of whether it is a use or disclosure, contact the Chief Privacy Officer at privacy@uvm.edu. You have now reached the end of Module 12. If you are taking this training as part of a requirement, you will have to answer questions in order to move on. Last up is Module number 13, the conclusion.